It's Monday, December 7th, and this is now on HNN.
Despite a pandemic, for us to be able to pay our respects and thanks to thank the greatest generation.
As the pandemic continues, a virtual ceremony is held to honor those lost in the Pearl Harbor attack 79 years ago. The state health department places its first order for Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine.
There was no RFP. I kept asking for it.
Honolulu's Bikeshare program is costing the city hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost revenue. Plus, check out what our friends and family in New England are dealing with. These stories and more coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon on this Monday. Jonathan and Ashley coming into you from the HNN Digital Center. We begin with breaking news from the State Department of Health.
We just got those numbers in. Health officials are reporting 81 new infections today and no new deaths. The breakdown shows 58 cases are on Oahu, 12 on Maui, 7 on the Big Island, 1 on Kauai, and the rest out of state. Meanwhile, Hawaii County Mayor-elect Mitch Roth, who will be sworn into office today very soon, and Honolulu Mayor-elect Rick Blangiardi just took part in a House panel on Hawaii's economy. Here's what they had to say.
Really not in favor of doing more quarantines. I know firsthand that the Safe Travels program is working. Today I'm supposed to be here. My son was supposed to be here a couple of days ago. But he tested positive. He probably would not have tested, but for having the Safe Travels program. So I think it is. I was talking to some people at our hospital, and apparently right now, knock on wood, we don't have anybody in at least Hilo Hospital that has COVID. So,
I think that, as we've lived through all of this, it's been the most remarkable event of my life. And I think that, the time has come now, especially here in Hawaii, where our numbers are looking so good and we've got good thoughts in place and we have really kind of almost a controlled site that we just, as we move forward here, because we have to deal with our own reality and the circumstances. And I'm all for those things that are going to move us forward, accepting the disease, live with the disease, believing we can't really wait it out. Let's be prudent. Let's take the actions. Let's act responsibly and be, to the extent we can be aggressive, if you will. I'm hesitant to use that word because maybe it creates the wrong connotation, but I think we need to mobilize like that.
Dr. Anthony Fauci was just named to be the chief medical advisor on COVID to President-elect Joe Biden. So how is that different from the role he's doing right now? Here's how he explained it this morning.
I don't think it's going to be substantially different. I mean, I have been involved and am involved right now as of this day, with the coronavirus task force. I'm not exactly sure what the precise structure that will be put up, but it certainly will be something similar in the sense of a daily monitoring and involvement of this extraordinary challenge that we're going through.
And Dr. Fauci had this to say today about that surge we're seeing on the mainland.
It was predictable. I mean, this is the thing that we were saying, that we had a very high baseline of cases to begin with. Even at the time when things seemed to have been calming down, it never got down to a low baseline. Then we had a combination of a bunch of things, all of which synergized to put us in the difficult position we're in now. First of all, we entered into the cooler weather of the fall and the upcoming colder weather of the impending winter. That gets people driven indoors, which is much more amenable to the spread of a respiratory disease. Then you had various events, things like holiday season, the traveling for Thanksgiving, which we still probably are just going to start seeing the brunt of what it means when you have people traveling and congregating in seemingly innocent settings like family and dinners with friends and family and colleagues. Those are the kind of things when the weather gets cold and you're indoors and there's a lot of community spread, it just compounds itself one after the other.
The State Department of Health has put in an order for 4,875 doses of Pfizer's vaccine. DOH says the shipment is just a fraction of the total amount of vaccines that will eventually come to the state.
A spokesperson for the health department says this order is expected to arrive later this month, but only if the Food and Drug Administration approves the treatment. DOH says the first order is an opportunity for Hawaii to test their shipping and handling before bringing in larger shipments. Once the FDA gives approval, orders are expected to arrive in the islands 48 to 72 hours after the orders are placed. Hospitals across the nation are struggling to cope with the surge in coronavirus cases. About 60,000 new infections and 600 new deaths were reported in at least 6 states in the past week. Mo'ololegi is in Rhode Island, where they've opened a large field hospital just this past week.
When Massachusetts closed its COVID field hospital in Worcester, the hope was that they'd never need to reopen it.
This was one of the first field hospitals in America, opened up on April 9th. We closed down around May 23rd, and now we're open again. And there's no other field hospital in America that we're aware of that has had to do that for COVID.
But as Dr. Eric Dixon, president of UMass Memorial Healthcare, explained to us, with COVID cases skyrocketing, overwhelming hospitals throughout the state, the 220-bed facility had to be reconstructed and reopened.
Was it discouraging when you realized we're going to have to do this all over again, that the situation has gotten that bad?
It didn't have to happen, and we had the virus under control in Massachusetts. And as we started to reopen the state, most people were doing the right thing most of the time. But that wasn't enough. It requires everyone to do the right thing every day if you're going to stop the spread.
They have more beds and staff than before, and enhanced capabilities like copper pipes funneling in oxygen for patients, and it appears they'll need it, as the state's more than 247,000 confirmed cases jumped by more than 4,700 just yesterday. Neighboring Rhode Island just opened this field hospital in Providence in the hopes of relieving its strained hospital system. Over the last week, the state has led the nation in average daily cases per capita, according to the CDC.
They shouldn't have to suffer this way.
But Holly Susie's parents, Janet and Richard Gingras of Providence, Rhode Island, did suffer, especially Richard. A bout of hospital delirium left him unaware of where he was or why he was there. They died days apart, without each other or their beloved family by their side. Stephen Susie was their grandson.
What really hurt our family and other families, I'm sure, is the inability to go and comfort them. They were isolated. This was a couple that had married for 69 years, about to have their 70th wedding anniversary, and all they could think about was each other.
Richard Gingras will be buried on Thursday, just 1 week after his wife of nearly 70 years was laid to rest. Now, public health officials tell us they see no signs of the virus slowing down, which explains the need for field hospitals that are popping up throughout New England, like this one here in Providence, Rhode Island. A 600-bed facility currently treating about 24 patients, and that's in addition to being one of the busiest testing facilities in the area. Mo'ololegi, CBS News, Providence, Rhode Island.
On Maui, social distancing violations led to the closure of a restaurant over the weekend. The Maui County Department of Liquor Control shut down Lava Rock Bar and Grill in Kihei for about 24 hours. Liquor control officers gave the business a warning Friday night, but returned later that evening and say their order was ignored. We're told the restaurant has since been allowed to reopen.
There's a new audit that found the city's Bikeshare program not only lacked transparency, but it resulted in a huge revenue loss for the city. Rick Daysog reports.
When the city launched its Bikeshare program 3.5 years ago, City Council member Ann Kobayashi says she asked for documents on how the nonprofit was awarded $1 million in city startup grant money.
There was no RFP. I kept asking for it for about 2 years, and they kept saying, we'll get it to you. And the department never did send me an RFP.
Under a request for proposals, or RFP, Bikeshare Hawaii would have had to compete with other operators for a grant, but a new audit says the city exempted them from the process. The audit says a lack of transparency and accountability in the city's rideshare program has cost the city $460,000 a year in lost revenue, while Bikie has turned into a $2.7 million a year business. Most of the lost revenue, about $300,000, comes from the displacement of more than 40 parking meters to make way for the Bikie bikes.
It's not just parking spaces they're taking away, but they're using city property, the sidewalks, and Everybody, other businesses have to pay property tax or pay something. Biki doesn't pay anything.
The city says the auditor overstates the loss of parking revenues from meters replaced by these docking stations. The city says revenues from parking meters cited by the auditor generate 4 to 20 times less money. It says the program has been successful. Quote, the Biki pilot has demonstrated that this method of green transportation has been embraced by both residents and visitors. Meanwhile, Bikeshare Hawaii says that as a nonprofit, its relationship with the city is a partnership, not a transactional one, adding, quote, not all mobility providers pay a fee to use street space. Rick Daysog, Hawaii News Now.
Today marks 79 years since the attack on Pearl Harbor, but a large in-person ceremony didn't happen there because of the pandemic. Sammy Selena was there.
Today is the 79th National Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day commemoration, honoring the 2,390 American lives that were lost that day in 1941. Of course, the ceremony is different this year, but the goal is the same: to honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Normally, we would have seen thousands of people gather for the ceremony, but it was closed to the public this year. Only a small number of speakers and veterans were in attendance. Most of the ceremony took place virtually. This is the first December 7th ceremony to follow the nationwide commemoration of the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II. There was a moment of silence at 7:55 a.m., which was the exact moment the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor began. There was also a missing man flyover formation, as well as pass and review honors, just as there has been in years past, to remember those who paid the ultimate sacrifice that day.
I think what we see today here is the resolve, despite a pandemic, for us to be able to pay our respects and thank the greatest generation. It also is a reminder to all that nothing will stop us.
The theme this year is Above and Beyond the Call, which recognizes people who made sacrifices during the island-wide attack. Sammy Solina for This Is Now.
The world just experienced its hottest November on record, while Europe had its warmest fall. This according to an alarming report released by the European Union's Climate Change Service. Temperatures were most elevated in large regions across northern Europe, Siberia, and the Arctic Ocean. That's where sea ice was at the second lowest level ever seen in November. The United States, South America, Southern Africa, Eastern Antarctica, and most of Australia also saw temperatures well above average. Scientists say this trend is concerning and highlights the importance of comprehensive monitoring of the Arctic, as it is warming faster than the rest of the world. To severe weather now, a monster storm brought dangerous whiteout conditions to many parts of the Northeast. Kathy Park has the very latest.
This morning, tens of thousands are still without power across the Northeast after the season's first nor'easter swept through, blanketing parts of New England with heavy, wet snow. The weekend storm bringing over a foot of snow to parts of New Hampshire, Maine, and Massachusetts, leaving millions under winter storm alerts. Officials urging residents to stay home and avoid travel. In coastal Massachusetts, near hurricane-strength wind gusts of up to 70 miles per hour, creating treacherous whiteout conditions in the area. While in Rhode Island, the dangerous mix of rain and snow triggered major accidents on highways. A car crashing into the guardrail northbound, with another car veering off the road and into the woods southbound. Luckily, police say there were no reported injuries from the scene. The wintry mess knocking over trees and downing power lines in Connecticut, with slippery roads grounding cars along Route 74. Now, as the storm moves north, the first major nor'easter of the season is expected to deliver a final blow in Maine as it makes its way out.
And back here in Worcester, the temperature is right around 27 degrees, so any snow remaining on the ground froze overnight. But here is some good news, though. It's supposed to be clear today. The roadways are pretty clear, except we're just dealing with these large snow mounds, as you can see behind me. Back to you.
Thanks, Kathy. Yuck.
Yeah, no.
And for any of our viewers who might be watching on the internet right now on Facebook Live, I really hate to do this to you, but I'm going to anyway. Whoa! It's beautiful outside
Gorgeous.
here. Yeah. And there are some few minor changes in the way. Here's Guy Hoggy with an update.
How's it on this Monday? The front is pulling away, the storm is pulling away, and that's allowing the trade winds to come back in. We're expecting moderate trade winds today. You can see there are some clouds coming through, but those clouds are not holding much in the way of rainfall. Now, those trade winds will be picking up speed throughout the day, running pretty nice over through tomorrow, and then we lose the trade winds again. So enjoy and savor and treasure the trade winds that are coming in. They're pushing in some nice conditions, although we could see a few wind and milky showers later tonight and into tomorrow morning. High temperatures running from the mid to low 80s. As far as the surf, it's still big, it's still extreme, it's still very dangerous up there. The swell is dropping, but a little reinforcement is due in tomorrow that's going to keep the advisory level wave heights going. So high surf advisory is posted for north and west shores. South shore is very small, but box jellyfish are likely to swim in. So before you go swimming on the south shore, even southwest shores, be sure to check with lifeguards. So the trade winds will be here today and tomorrow. Weather's going to be beautiful. And then another front's going to come through and push away the trade winds Wednesday and Thursday. And then as that front pulls away for the weekend, trade winds will move back in. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
Thank you, Guy, for that update. Let's see what the internet is talking about right now. Here's what I found, and it's going to make you hungry. Pizza Hut is offering this special deal. Check it out. It's their new triple treat box. 2 medium, 1 topping pizzas on the top and the middle layer, then 5 breadsticks and 10 mini cinnamon rolls on the bottom level. If you hear an alarm going off, that's not my pizza microwave right now. That's our building fire alarm, but I think we're okay here. Our boss will come running in to help us in a moment if it is anything else. The box is $21. It's a good deal there. I had Pizza Hut last night. I tried out the Beyond Meat box. It worked. I tasted really good. It was a good substitute for a meat product, I gotta say.
All right. Well, if you approve, it must be okay. Switching gears now to fried chicken, you guys. Which celebrity would you pick to play KFC founder Colonel Sanders? John?
Guy Hoggy.
Well, probably not Mario Lopez, right? Well, KFC and Lopez are teaming up for a comical cross promotion. It's called A Recipe for Seduction. Now, it's billed as a 15-minute Lifetime original mini-movie, but of course, it's really just an extended tongue-in-cheek commercial. So according to KFC, the film includes themes of mystery, suspense, deception, and foul play. Yes, that's foul spelled F-O-W-L.
No.
A Recipe for Seduction premieres on Lifetime this coming Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern and Pacific.
What a strange collaboration
Yeah,
there.
that's
I'm going to have to check that one out.
I
This
know.
is too weird to miss.
And this is crazy. So Bob Dylan has sold his entire songwriting catalog, which encompasses more than 600 songs over 6 decades. Now, according to multiple reports, the sale to Universal Music Publishing Group marks a major shift for the singer and songwriter who has controlled much of his own intellectual property this whole time. The purchase price wasn't disclosed, but the New York Times says it's estimated at more than $300 million.
What? That's more than $250 million.
That's crazy.
Poor Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Well, the fire alarm went off. That's good.
That's
So
a good
let's
sign.
Yeah, let's switch gears here just a little bit because tomorrow is actually the 40th anniversary of another music legend's passing. We're talking about the killing of John Lennon. H&N's digital team has been working on a special documentary about just that. I'm going to play out the trailer.
Former Beatle John Lennon, who was 40, was shot and killed last night outside his luxury apartment in New York. The alleged killer is an unemployed security guard and printer who had lived in Hawaii.
Very, very sorry that this had to happen. December 8, 1980 was one of the darkest nights of my life.
News of Lennon's death touched off a wave of shock and mourning around the world.
It was just full court press in this story.
He knew something subconsciously that he was looking into the eyes of the person that was going to kill him.
Nothing special about the sale.
Pretty strange character.
They brought out Lennon. He was limp.
It takes a deranged person to single out one of the most well-known people in the world.
First thing he said was, I acted alone.
And I was ready for this to happen. I even heard a voice, my own, inside of me say, do it, do it, do it.
There you have a preview right there with the trailer. It's entitled, I Just Shot John Lennon, the Mark David Chapman story. That's going to be dropping tonight on our digital platforms. So if you have our app, our Roku, our Amazon Fire, that's at 8 o'clock. You can watch it. Be one of the first. Tomorrow on TV, it premieres on K5 at 7. There's going to be several other opportunities to watch it as well.
John, it looks so good. I know you worked so hard on it.
Yeah, it was a lot of hours and just a lot of learning. There's a lot of very interesting history there tied to the state that a lot of people really don't know about.
That's right. Can't wait to see it. All right, switching gears, you guys. A first for the Duchess of Cambridge, Kate, as she heads out on a 3-week royal excursion with husband Prince William. Now, it's the first time in 9 years of marriage that Kate has toured aboard the official train of the UK's royal family, and Sarah Harmon has the story.
All aboard, Prince William and Kate, the Duchess of Cambridge, enjoying a musical send-off from London's Euston Station and leaving an encouraging note for transit workers before kicking off a whirlwind 3-day tour across England, Scotland, and Wales. Their first stop, Edinburgh, where they met with COVID first responders. Unlike past tours where crowds are encouraged, the stops along this 1,250-mile journey are being kept tightly under wraps, and masks and social distancing are a must. The tour taking place as the UK begins rolling out the Pfizer vaccine on Tuesday, with those over 80 among the first in line. This morning, questions about whether the 94-year-old Queen will be among them. Buckingham Palace declining to comment on private medical decisions. But royal watchers say if she does get the vaccine, she'll wait in line just like everybody else.
Sarah Harmon, NBC News, London.
Last week we had the Queen on Zoom, and now some of the royal family on the train. What do I have to do to be on that train? Probably a lot. They said some very, very strict quarantine and procedures there for COVID-19, but it is really cool to see them out and about. And as you know, that train does make an appearance, or at least the royal train does, in the episodes of The Crown, which I'm completely still addicted to, and very quickly finished season 4 in one day.
Did you see that they're trying to get them to say that it's not like based on true events and stuff?
Yeah. But I've heard the royals actually watch it and enjoy it.
Oh.
I've seen reports of that, and I would too. It's such a good show. It really is. Speaking of Europe, you got some news there.
Yeah, so like other major attractions around the world, the Louvre Museum in Paris is suffering because of the pandemic. To make up some of those lost funds, the museum is planning to auction up some close and personal time with its most famous painting, the Mona Lisa. Now, most people get to see the painting as part of a crowd from 15 feet away inside a glass case, but the highest bidder in this case will be able to examine Leonardo da Vinci's masterpiece and will also get to walk along the museum's roof to take in stunning views of the Eiffel Tower and the Notre Dame Cathedral. Now, the museum expects the highest bid for this will go somewhere around $36,000.
I could see it going even higher.
Oh yeah, my picture of the Mona Lisa when I went to see it, there's at least 40 rows of people in front of me.
Oh yeah, it's always a crowd around
there. And it was
there.
before like the fancy smartphones, so it was really like blurry.
And I've been watching the Da Vinci Code series because it's popped up again on Netflix, which has a lot to do with this museum there. Really go check that out too. Good one. Guys, I wanted to show you this and give a big shout out and thank you to our very own Monet, who is right now working hard in our newsroom to finally get our Christmas tree up, our holiday tree up. And she does this every year, and really got to thank her for that.
Yeah, so we'll start seeing the tree and the glass behind us in the newscast now. So thanks, Monet.
Yeah, first view, first at 4
That's
today
right.
on KHNO with Ashley. We'll see you back here tomorrow on This Is Now. You guys have a safe one.